Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy 4th of July if you are in the United States. Happy to see everybody here. I am not sure what the turnout's going to be today, but either way, I decided to just go for it. We only have 2 more weeks left in the course. So thanks for showing up if you're here. I really do appreciate it. So get some questions in. We're going to be talking today about the wash pack station. And like usual, I'll chat for a few minutes and then take questions about the wash pack station in particular, and then I'll take general questions, but we'll see how it goes today. I'm really not sure how many people are going to show up. I know a lot of people are barbecuing and hanging out with friends and family and all that stuff, but all right, so before we get into all that stuff, again, like usual, just want to thank PaperPod Co. for sponsoring the entire course and making it possible. And I know I say this in every video and in every live stream, this course really wouldn't have come to fruition without their support. As you probably know, every other farming course, there's a fee for it. And I'm not saying mine is better or worse than those courses. I actually haven't seen most of them. But, for someone to put this much time in, they expect to get paid for it. And that's what held me back this whole time about making the course was not wanting to charge for it because I don't think this information should be behind a paywall. So huge thanks to them. Again, go check out what they have for sale, tools, equipment, and supplies. And I wanted to also let you know, if you're tuning in, that Diego told me that the Jang cedar is back in stock. So there was a supply issue for like everyone in the whole country. There wasn't any available. So he has some now. They're available. So if you're looking to buy one, definitely go check that out. And as I said in some of the modules, they're also selling a little kit that comes with the rollers that I use, which is pretty fun. So you can order like the Josh Sattin kit, which I think is really cool. So anyways, I just want to let you know about that. And again, if you haven't already, please thank them for sponsoring this and making this happen. I think they'd appreciate hearing from you. So thanks for coming today. Let's get some questions in here. Just to leave a little bit of an update. I did my last delivery almost 2 weeks ago. So the farm is now closed for the summer. We started putting the beds to sleep. We did the first tunnel today. We didn't vlog it, but I want to do that for one of the other tunnels to show you what I'm doing, because I've never seen anyone do this before, so I wanted to document it and share. But essentially, we cleared what we could. We laid down some leaf mold that we made. Hopefully, if you see that video from the fall, we made a big pile of leaves, or maybe it was over the winter, I can't remember. And then we added a little bit of that, a little bit of commercial compost, wet it down, covered it with a tarp, put it to sleep for the summer. So when we pull the tarp off, it should be broken down, ready to go, and no weeds. So that'll be awesome. And it's just like, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to deal with it. It's just paused for the summer. All right. So it doesn't look like there's a lot of people in here today. So whoever is here, ask questions, because I'll spend as much time as I can on your questions. So I appreciate you being here. This module was all about the wash pack station, which, if you've been following the channel at all, you've probably seen all the iterations. They're all fairly similar in terms of the fact that I am mainly interested in washing greens and getting a high throughput for that. So that's going to be the main thing, is being able to wash lettuce as quickly as possible. And yeah, I just went through all the details I could find, and all the stuff is linked in the video, but really breaking that down. And the thing I wanted to stress about the wash pack station is taking your time to build it before you need it, because once you need it, you're super busy and you don't have time to do it. So really think about the flow of the work, the wash pack station. If you're in there by yourself, it's going to be different than if you have people in there. Also keep in mind, as your farm grows, you probably will be adding more people if you are expanding your farm, and think about how that works with how people move around, how material moves around. Cold storage is really important, and all that kind of stuff in the design of the wash pack station, because I put a lot of thought into it, and I'm really, really happy with how it is now. It's super, super efficient, and it allows me to really crank through the produce as quickly as possible, especially myself, which I've been very upfront about being a part-time farmer and needing time for YouTube and videography and my other YouTube channel and all that stuff, is that I can't spend any extra time washing and packing vegetables. That has to go as quickly as possible. So in the next module, which is going to come out on Thursday, is really like, it's kind of a longer module. It's all about washing, packing, storing, selling, invoicing, like all those details in one video, which I've shared before, but it's nice to have it all in one package. And it's been really, I don't think I've processed yet the fact that I'm wrapping up the course. I've been working on this project for so long now. It's been taking a lot of time. So, yeah, anyways, I'll probably reflect on that at some point. I'm not there yet, but yeah, the last module is ready to go, and that'll be up on Thursday. So, all right. Enough chitter chatter. Let's see here. Viking Patriot, thank you so much for the kind words. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from the course. I know it's interesting and probably frustrating for some people that I turn the comments off in the video, so I don't really have feedback other than people coming to live streams or sending me a DM or an email. So, but from everyone who's like had checked it out, everyone's been pretty happy with it. So there's a lot of hours. There's a lot of hours. I should probably add it up. It's probably at least 10 hours of video, maybe more. I don't know. And every lesson is pretty dense. So I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Hey, Simeon. All right, here's a question. What do you think about not washing your head lettuce? I know Jesse said that sometimes he doesn't to help with mold. So it depends on your sales outlets and it depends on what your lettuce looks like. So I'll give you an example here. I'll get back to lettuce in a second, but like I was growing full-size red Russian kale and I did not wash that because it was just too much of a pain, because washing those big leaves, getting them dry enough is really, really hard. Because you can't just like throw it in the salad spinner and throw it on the drying screen. So it's like it's too much. I was growing in tunnels, and most of the year I don't use the overhead. I've been using drip more and more, so it's pretty clean. Now, if it's covered in bugs, I probably wouldn't sell it anyways. So for me, I was selling it as is. I was just careful about handling it and keeping it clean, and then I would just tell my chefs, hey, like I didn't wash this, and they knew that. Most of the produce they get's not washed, so the fact that like I wash my lettuce is a huge advantage for them, because they don't have to wash it themselves. It takes a lot of time and energy. So back to head lettuce though, if you can avoid it, then that saves you a huge amount of time. Like, and especially with head lettuce, it's really hard to dry it. So it's easy to wash, right? Because you can just kind of dunk it in your tank and turn the bubbler on for a second or whatever, if you have a bubbler. If not, you can spray them out pretty easily. But then how do you dry them? And so if you put them in the fridge wet, then their shelf life's going to go down pretty quickly. If you're selling to restaurants and they're using it within a few days, maybe it doesn't matter so much. You have to talk to them about it. If you're selling to a farmer's market, think about how it's going to store. One of the benefits of people that are buying produce from you locally is that they're getting it when it's super fresh and it lasts a long time. So if people are buying stuff and they take it home and it only lasts for 2 days, they're going to be upset. So I know that like one big selling point about my products is that they last a long time because they're usually harvested the day before and they don't have to ship across the country. So anything I do to help with shelf life. But again, if you can get away with it, man, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. So it's always a consideration. And the biggest question always with any business, any sales, is it's all about your customers. So you got to think about what they want. I think that's the bigger question. Now, if the lettuce is like dirty and gross, like definitely should clean it. I mean, it's really a thing you need to consider. And time of year might be different. Also, one thing that can keep your lettuce cleaner is using landscape fabric and planting into holes if you want to do that. I know Ray Tyler switched to that even inside of his tunnels. The last time I talked to him about this was a little while ago, because he said the lettuce is just cleaner coming off the field. And that was inside a tunnel. He said even they took away the landscape fabric, and then the wash station was complaining because it was dirty and it was taking them longer to clean it. So there's a lot of options. It's kind of like what does it look like? What does your product look like? And what do your customers think about it? I think those are the biggest questions. So long answer, Simeon, but all right. What are your local health department regulations for washing or not washing? So this varies everywhere, so I can't speak on what's going on for you. The way I understand most places is that if you are not processing your food in any way, so you're not cooking it, fermenting it, anything like that, then you're basically selling raw vegetables. And so there's not much regulation about it. Now, that being said, depending on where you're selling it to, so for example, some restaurants or some supermarket, I haven't had a restaurant ask me this, but some supermarkets They might ask for GAP certification, which is a certification process for your wash station and how you wash and store your vegetables and stuff. So if that's the case, then there'll be more regulation. But generally speaking, and I can't speak for wherever you are and everywhere else, that it really is generally pretty unregulated for vegetables. Once you get into meat, you get into eggs, you get into having a commercial kitchen on your property, you're fermenting things, that's when you have more of an issue. But if you're just like selling carrots and lettuce and stuff like that, it's pretty low key. I haven't had anyone sort of checking on that or anything like that, or I didn't have to apply for a license or anything because, again, I'm just selling like raw vegetables. Okay. Not a lot of questions today. Kind of expected, but good to see everybody here. So let me know if you have questions. I'll take general questions right now too, so anything you want to talk about for catching me in a quiet live stream today. One thing I do want to clarify about the module was I said you spend at least 50 to 70% of your time washing vegetables. That's probably not true. It's probably including harvesting. You probably spend that much time. So I definitely wanted to clarify that. Yeah, we're all just in summer mode. Yeah, for sure. I think it was one thing I was concerned about the course was getting it done as quickly as possible. In that people are in summer mode. Like I notice, like on YouTube, there's less views on a lot of videos, and not just mine, but other people's and stuff. People are out doing stuff. They're not hanging around watching things. And I think most of the time when people are learning about YouTube or learning about gardening and farming is like from like January or February through like May. That's like the busiest time that I found on YouTube. So everyone else is out doing stuff. So totally get it. But the good thing is all the course will stay up. So even if you didn't get a chance to finish it or you missed some modules, you can watch it in the winter or whenever. I actually did check with my state. Cannot sell root veggies and squash without a license. Oh, I can sell. Okay, yeah. Eggs, lettuce. Interesting. Okay. Well, good thing you checked. I know, like, when I was selling eggs, there was some regulations, like if you're under a certain dozen per week or whatever. And then there's, like, rules about labeling and stuff. I'm sure it varies in every different state or county or whatever. Interesting. Okay. So you don't need a license to sell root veggies, but lettuce you do? I don't know. Microgreens? You don't even watch microgreens. Well, I guess some of them you do. I don't know. That's really interesting. All right. Hey, Andrew. We've having issues with our baskets coming out of our washing machine, salad spinner while spinning. Yes. Okay. So I addressed this in the washing machine spinner video that I made, and I just put a couple of small pieces of PVC, and I screwed those in around the top. I did like 4. So definitely check out the video. It's called like DIY salad spinner washing machine or something like that. And that allowed me to like press the basket in, and it holds it in. One of the issues with the basket, at least the one I have, is that it's tapered. So after it gets loose, it just kind of wiggles itself out. And also a lot of the washing machines, they're all different sizes in terms of the width. So some it fits snugly, some it doesn't. I need to fix the little spacers that I have in there because they're getting a little bit loose. They're still kind of working. So I haven't figured out a new way to do that. But I think some sort of like material that went around, some sort of flexible tubing or pipe that you could get around the surface and attach it to make like a ring. And then you could shove the basket in there. You want to make sure it fits pretty snugly and nice and tight, because if you start that washing machine up, it's going to work its way out and it get kind of dangerous. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend, is put something around the top. And if you check out the video, that's one idea. it worked pretty well. And then what happened is the screws started getting loose and the thing started flapping around, but I kind of hold them in place and just drop it in. I'm probably going to do a little bit of work on the wash station before I fire the farm back up in the fall, but yeah, it's something like that. I think every situation is a little bit different. There's always questions. There's always questions. Okay. And custom-made PVC swivel clamps on the... Oh, cool. That sounds awesome. I'd say share it somewhere, but I don't know how to do that in this context here. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I found that as long as it's like there's a good amount of friction when the basket goes in, it seems to work pretty well. But I tried it first without the spacers, and the thing just jumped out of there, so definitely needed that. Nice, Nora. Okay, so more questions about this. Let's see. The back comes out about 1 inch. Yeah, it wiggles a little bit. I think if you have an unbalanced load, trying to make jokes about using a washing machine. But yeah, if it starts to wiggle a little bit, like one side might come out a little bit, and then I've never, since I put those spacers in though, it's never like jumped out. That being said, the first couple days I washed in there, I definitely was not standing near the spinner when it was running. But since then, I've had some confidence in it. But they can be dangerous, so you want to keep that in mind. Also, some people put like a plexiglass like cover over the top of the washing machine with like a hinge. That could be a great idea also for safety. It's definitely not a very safe situation. We just do it because it's like DIY and cheap. There's probably better ways to do it. I mean, and if you really want a nice one, they sell commercial ones that like dry them way quicker and way more efficient. They're just like $2,000 or $3,000. I actually thought about getting one this year for the farm. I couldn't really justify it though. It's pretty expensive. And then also I just wanted to be able to show people like, you know, you can get away with a very simple rig. Oh, thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cool. Well, you know what? This is a great example of doing your research about your market, what you can sell, what grows well, and of course now you have other considerations with the regulations and the laws. So if that's working, that's awesome. Squash is a great summer crop once you get past the pest issues. Crazy yields. Mumano Tiaro, thoughts on washing machine maintenance strategies, cleaning, sterilization, disinfection, etc. So I don't like to give too much advice on this because I don't really do much of that. I do clean it, but I don't use any sanitizers or sterilizers in that regard. I know that there are proper procedures for this. I would probably look into GAP certification and see what they recommend if you need to be doing that for sure. But some people add sanitizers to their wash water. I don't do that. You also want to keep in mind too, like anything that you're using to clean your wash station, like where's that water going? So for me, I'm dumping that water out behind my house. So I want to be really careful about what I'm using. I don't want to be creating weird runoff issues or killing plants or the ecosystem around where I live. So I'm just cautious about that too. So just think about that. But one thing that I always recommend, and I learned this, as a professional brewer. Most of you guys know I did that for 5 years. Is that the best thing you can always do? I should have said this in the video. Is just at least spray everything down as soon as you're done. I had an old boss that told me that one time. He said, even if you can't get to like cleaning a tank or cleaning a line or a keg or whatever, just at least spray it off. Like if things don't harden on there, you'll be in really good shape. So the best thing you can do when you're done is just clean it right when you're done. And I definitely should have mentioned this in the module. I totally forgot. And then when you come in the next time, it's ready to go. You don't want to be cleaning before you start. You want to put things away clean. So that goes a long way, which is maintenance of things. Things staying clean and sort of like not clogged and working properly is as clean as soon as you're done. Make that part of the SOP. You get in, you do your washing and packing, you clean up, you put it away clean. That's a huge part of that. Hey Nora, I never put this number together. Yeah, it's probably like total cost. It's probably under 1,000. Not including the refrigeration. My refrigerator was crazy cheap, but that was a weird thing. I just found a crazy deal on it. The bubbler, the tank was like $100, maybe a little bit more. You can get a blower motor for like $150 and some plumbing for that. So let's say $300 for the bubbler. The washing machine I bought, I used one for like $250 plus the basket, so that's $300. So up to $600. The sink, the laundry sink was probably, I don't know, $150, $200, and then a couple box fans and some wood. So yeah, and all the plumbing, I'm probably around 1,000, I would say, for my wash pack station. Another scale, so we're getting a little bit more. But again, like, you don't need a brand new laundry sink. You could hunt around for a better deal on a washing machine. You don't have to have a stainless table like I have. You don't need a $150 scale. I love that scale. I'd probably be just over 1,000. But again, there was a lot of time that went into that because I had to build all that stuff. I had to find all those materials. So when you're getting started, this is where I say usually I recommend buying kits and things like that to get started, but there isn't really a kit necessarily for a lot of this stuff. You could go buy that really expensive salad spinner like I mentioned, but like, you know, you want to spend $2,500 on a salad spinner when you can build one for $300. To me, it's probably worth putting the time in to build that, right? Because that's a lot of money. So no, I never actually don't think I answered that, but yeah. Again, you depending on what you're watching, like if you're not doing greens, you don't need the whole washing spinning situation. But if you are doing that, is definitely worth it. The amount of time you save is incredible, and you get a better product. So I don't know, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500, I would guess. That walk-in fridge that I showed in the video, I bought it for like $150, $175 from some dude. Yeah, I cleaned it out really well. It works fine. I only run it once a week. That's crazy cheap for refrigeration. You're probably gonna spend way more than that on any refrigerator, never mind like a commercial fridge. So I just got lucky, right place at the right time. What is GAP? GAP, I don't know what it stands for. It's a certification program for food practices. I don't do it, so I don't know much about it, but I know it's something that people ask for. Like if you're selling to certain places, they'll say, hey, are you GAP certified? Like if it's a hotel or some fancy place, or maybe a large institution like a supermarket, they might say, hey, like, are you GAP certified? We need to be able to get that. There was one restaurant that I reached out to, and they were part of a large chain. It was like a big thing, and they wanted GAP certification. I was like, I'm not GAP certified, so I can't help you. I don't remember what it stands for, though. What kind of root sprayers do you use? Mine just doesn't pull off enough pressure. Okay, so I just use like standard spray guns. I think I got them at Lowe's. And yeah, there's a couple things with that. So one thing with roots, and I'll talk about, I'm going to say this in the next module, but is that with root crops, I soak them first, usually. If I'm taking the greens off, like with beets or carrots, what I'll do is I'll have them in a harvest tote, and then I'll just soak them for as long as it takes me to get all the harvest in. So in the morning, I'll go out and do all my harvesting, and then I'll bring it all into my garage, and then once I have everything, then I'll start washing. But usually when I bring in the carrots or the beets, I'll soak them in the bin, and that really helps loosen things up. And then usually when I'm spraying them, it's not so bad. If you don't have enough pressure, that's probably not an issue with your sprayer. Most likely, unless your sprayer is like really crappy, it's probably you don't have enough water flow and pressure in your system most of the time. I know there was like a sprayer that everyone was using, that like big blue gun thing. I don't know. I never owned one. I just get like cheap sprayers from Lowe's is what I've been using. Soaking definitely helps though. And also the other thing is not leaving the dirty roots very long. So as soon as you get them out of the ground, get them soaking. Like, don't let them sit and harden and dry off in the heat, in the sun, in the air. Like, get them out of the ground, get them in water. That's when the soil is the loosest. That helps. Where do you get materials and containers to pack the product? So I only use one bag anymore, and so I get that from Uline. It's linked in a few videos. I don't know if it was in this video or the one on Thursday. That's where I buy my bags from. I was buying bags also from a local restaurant store. There was a couple that I went to. One was like Restaurant Depot, which is like, that's a chain. It's all over the country. And then there was another local store that I got in touch with somehow, and they just sell like packaging products for restaurants and caterers and stuff. It was just a local place. So I got it from there a few times. But lately, there's one bag that I like. I found one that works. I buy it from Uline. That's all I use. But yeah, I think that's generally it. I mean, as I said, the one big bag. In the past, I decided against using clamshells because they're too expensive. Again, if you were selling to a place where you could cover that cost, certain supermarkets, things like that, maybe it's worth it. I did buy some from one of those local stores. Generally, it's just bags for me, and then I use rubber bands to seal up the top. There's also a bag taper, which I think I also got from Uline. That's in Thursday's module. I'll show you how to use that. That I was using for smaller bags. So yeah, that's where I wound up getting it from. But if you can find someplace local, that's great too, because one thing that's hard about Uline is it's really hard to judge the bag size. If any of you ever looked on there for bags, there's like thousands of bags. Like, it's crazy. And it's hard to judge how big they are. Some are gusseted. That's where they like open up in the bottom. It's really hard to tell. And then you buy a box of 1,000 and you pay a lot of money for it. It's the wrong size. It's frustrating. I get it. So all I can do is share the one that I'm using, which I have in some of those videos. So Uline. I don't know what is the question about? I'm confused, and maybe I just don't connect to what you're asking about. Oh, I don't know, guys. Let's see. Good agricultural practices? Safety program? Oh, yes. Sorry. You're answering the question I'm trying to answer right now. Yeah, good agricultural practices. I just Googled GAP certification. NC, it came up as North Carolina, but I'm sure this is like not North Carolina only. Again, I haven't looked into it because, yeah, it's called Good Agriculture Practices. Looks like it's through the USDA, so there you go. There's a lot of information out there. As I said, I haven't practiced it, so I don't have too much to add on it. But one thing let's talk about certifications for a minute, just in general. If you are certified GAP or you are certified organic, those are things that can only really help you in terms of sales. Now, it could take a lot of time, money, energy, whatever, to get those things going and can keep them consistent. But I know, for example, when I went to visit Jesse, and he is an certified organic farm, when he goes to the farmer's market, he said that's a huge advantage because most of the farms, if not all the farms, are not certified organic at his farmer's market. So when people come up and say, hey, is your farm certified organic? He said, yes. That's a much easier sale for him. And in fact, the day I was there, when we made that video, someone came up and said, are you certified organic? I don't think I could find another one. And I don't know if there was another one at that time. Again, it might really depend on your farmer's market, but that can help a lot. So, yeah, I wouldn't, if you think you might need GAP certification and you're looking to build your farm or build your wash station, I think it'd be worth it to look into the regulations and guidelines so that you might think you need to get into that zone. It's a lot easier to set yourself up for success and growth now than, have to do it later, especially if you're in the middle of a million other things. So always good to sort of think about that stuff. Again, it comes down to your sales outlets, during your market research, and those things. Okay. So definitely I'll take any general questions today. I know there's not a ton of people here, which is fine. Um, and I'll get back to grilling and I'll start grilling a little bit later tonight. But again, just want to thank the sponsor, PaperPot Co., for sponsoring the entire course, and Diego's been super supportive in a lot of ways. And he also wanted me to mention that the Jing Cedar is now back in stock. So if you're looking to pick one up, and it's been back ordered for, I think, a few months now, it's in stock. He just wanted me to let everyone know there, all of you know that it's in stock. So if you want that, it's there. So, and definitely go check out Diego's podcasts and his YouTube channel, and definitely say hello, say thanks for supporting the course and the farming community. Very cool. Oh man, yeah, I was just looking back at this comment. Sorry, I skipped over this. $1 a piece for squash. Yeah, that's that's awesome. Yeah, once squash get cranking, they put out so much fruit. It's pretty unreal. All right, more questions? Hopefully you guys are in your season and cranking away. It is, oh man, just reminded every summer how much it kicks my butt as I get older. I don't know about all you, but summer's brutal. Thanks, Weekend Film Company. Let's see here. Thoughts on compostable seed starters. So, I've never used them. I know they're common in like home gardening. I see them for sale in places where you start them in the little guys and then you put the whole thing in the ground. I mean, I don't know what the benefit is really. You still have to wait for that to break down for the roots to push through, and then anytime. Sort of a bigger discussion here is like anytime that you're adding things to your soil, you have to think about what you're adding, and you should only add it if it has purpose. So if that is compost, amendments, any sort of fertilizer, but the bigger thing I like to talk about as often as I can is the potting mix that you use. So a lot of people try to get as cheap potting mix as possible. Now for me, I usually try to buy some of the best stuff that I can. And the reason for that is I get the healthiest starts, but also when you take that little block of soil that the plant started in and you put that in the ground, that's going to feed your soil as well. So there's nutrients and minerals and stuff like that in the potting mix that will help feed your soil. So to me, if you're trying to, I just don't know the benefit, and especially at scale. It's another thing to buy. It's another thing that someone has to then ship to you. And there's, fossil fuels involved in that and everything. So I don't know. I don't know what the benefit would be necessarily. Maybe that you're not buying plastic trays. And that thing, maybe it's made out of some sort of renewable resource and then it's getting broken down into your soil. I'd probably recommend going for soil blocks at that point, because the trays, you don't even have to have trays. You could use a piece of wood if you wanted to. You could make soil blocks with anything. And then there's no plastic really being used, because you buy that one piece of metal for the soil block machine, and then you just make it out of potting mix. And then you don't have to worry about things breaking down your soil, what's that's doing to the soil biology and ecology and all that stuff. So I'd say I probably wouldn't recommend them in general. I haven't used them, and I have to think that they don't break down super fast. So how does that affect the way the plant grows? I'm not really sure. I guess I haven't had much experience with it, but anyways, those are my thoughts. Bag closures. So for the big bags, I just wrap a rubber band around them. I'm going to go over that in the module on Thursday. I just sort of keep a little bit of air in the top and then twist the bag around to keep some air in there and then wrap a rubber band around it. That's what I've been using. And then for smaller bags, like when I was doing bags for farm stand sales or home deliveries, I was doing like 5-ounce bags. And so I was using a bag taper, which I showed. If you don't want to wait till Thursday, you can watch this video called Lettuce from Field to Farm Stand, where I talk about that and show that. So again, that's from Uline. It's like a little machine that holds like a roll of tape, and you just kind of like put the bag through it, and it like puts that little like blue, orange, whatever, like little piece of tape with the flag that's sticking out. So that's how you do that. Those are the two that I'd probably recommend. The thing about the bag tapers, though, they're really awesome for the people that are packaging them because it's super fast, but they're a pain in the butt for the customer. So that's the one negative, because if you've ever had a bag like that, you wind up like ripping the bag open because you get frustrated trying to get that little piece of tape off there. So that's something to consider. You could go with twist ties, I guess. I think that's another option. I don't know. Those are the two that I've used. But I think in terms of, a lot of times people will, like anything that you consume in terms of food, you open the bag and then you probably like not transfer it into something else. You use that bag to store it until you wind up finishing eating it. So if they can get the closure off easily and then maybe reseal it, that's probably the best bet. But for me, I'm just selling to restaurants in large scale, and I just put a rubber band around it. And I know one of my customers, he reuses the bags for some prep for, some sort of like, I don't even remember, some sort of like bread or something they're preparing for brunch on Sundays or something. They'd use like the bag again for something else because they were like pretty nice bags. So whoa. Hang on a second. Okay. I take care of that. Sorry about that. Hey, Hedgehogs Homestead. Oh man, starting a seed company. Yeah. That's a crazy endeavor. I know a few people that work in seed companies. I did a video with Brigitte at the San Diego Seed Company. It was like Jesse and I were out in California right before COVID, and I visited her. She had this like crazy sort of urban suburban farm seed company. Brigitte's amazing. Her company's grown so much. They have an actual farm now that's not like in their little backyard. It's definitely possible. You got to think about, what you're doing that's unique and how you're going to market it. That's probably going to be the best thing. One thing that's really beneficial about small seed companies is you can be very regional. And I don't think a lot of people think about this because most people just order from Johnny's, order from Osborne, order from wherever you order your seeds from. But their seeds come from all over the place. And so if you can get stuff that's grown and the seeds are harvested in your area, those plants generally do better. Yeah. Another one is Dan Brisebois at, what's the name of his farm? Tournesol. I've done a bunch of stuff with Dan. Also, he's got a podcast too, the Seed Growers Podcast. I definitely check it out and try to get in touch with some of those people and pick their brains a little bit. But there's definitely a possibility if you think you have a market for it. I know that Brigitte, I'm sure there wasn't a seed company in Southern California before she started. To me, if I was going to start a business that was not growing food, that was in the farming community, I always say this: start a compost company, you'll make a killing. But yeah, and growing for seed is very different than growing vegetables. So I haven't done that. I never let anything go to seed, so I don't have any experience with it. But I would probably reach out to some of the smaller seed companies and try to get in touch with some of them and check that out. And also check out Dan's podcast too. Wait, did I already delete this? Yes, I got it. Thank you. Yes, I saw that. Okay. I love how it's got my picture on it. That's very clever. What's my opinion on the future of small-scale sustainable farming? So this is a great question. I think I did a 20, 30-minute video with Jesse about this on the No Till Growers channel if you want to hear my extended thoughts, and that was like a year ago. It's really interesting. I think there's going to be more and more push for local. that's going to continue. I don't know where it caps out at, because generally a lot of this stuff is expensive, and not everyone has the time, energy, and money to go to farmers markets, find local farmers, even though that's kind of like what it used to be like. Now people can produce food on larger scales that is a lot cheaper. And that's what we're seeing, is the like bulk food in this country has grown all over the place in very large scales using lots of unsustainable practices. But the bottom line is that the food is cheaper, financially speaking. And I can only speak for really the United States, because that's where I live, is that people don't really put a lot of value on their food. Like, they don't spend a lot of money on their food. And I think they do spend a higher percentage of their income on food in other countries. Again, that's just my sense. I haven't actually researched this, but this is the kind of understanding that I've come to over the years. So I think there'll be more and more of it. I hope more of it is grown in a sustainable way, but I think the start there is to try to source locally. I think that's a huge advantage. Even if we are growing in similar practices, but we're not shipping food across the world, that's awesome. If people can start understanding seasonality, that's awesome. Those are things that people need to be more aware of, that you shouldn't be buying strawberries in January, right, in North America. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's going in the right direction. I think there's more and more demand for it. I also think that during COVID, especially in 2020, the first year, man, like, there was not enough local food. There was not enough food on the shelves. Like, you go to the store and some of the shelves are empty in terms of produce, meat. We all know that. We've all experienced that. And I know a lot of people were really itching to get a CSA share. I know that everyone I know that had CSA farms in 2020 sold out with a waiting list. So I think the demand is there. I'm just hoping that like realization about like how fragile our food system is and supply chain is across the United States, that people think more locally and even grow a little bit of their own food, or buy some eggs from their neighbors, or anything like that. Just got to keep things a little bit more local, I think, is important. Once you get into the sustainable part of it, I think that that's where that follows. But really, for that to work, you have to be a sustainable business. And I think that's a big part of what I try to teach on my channel, on this course, is that for these farms, we can get all nerdy about soil science and using compost and cover crops and inputs, and we can talk about food nutrient density and pollinators and no pesticides and all this stuff, no till, like all this stuff that we talk about. But if we're not making money as small scale sustainable farmers, then we're not going to be here very long. So that's where I think it really has to come down to, is like, how do we get people educated about buying local food? How do we make sure the farms are profitable? And a lot of that comes down for selling the food for a lot of money. And this is where the rub comes for me a lot, in that to make a living as a small scale farmer, you need to charge a lot. And then that food isn't necessarily available to the people that probably need it the most, people that don't have a lot of money. So this is like a bigger conversation that I've had a lot, especially when I worked at Raleigh City Farm, because we talked about this, being like the farm was in a pretty affluent area downtown, and I don't know, we've talked about this a lot. I'm hopeful about it. There's a lot of positive energy. Myself, didn't come from a farming background. Most of you know that I grew up in Boston, very urban area. And so, someone like myself who has zero food growing experience, zero farming background, we're seeing a lot more first generation farmers right now, that people are getting into this. So I'm hopeful. Long answer to your question, but happy to share my thoughts on that. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the seed companies is really the sales and distribution. So once you get into packaging... Oh, I also did a video with... what is that seed company there in Virginia? I'm the worst about remembering details. I forget. But I did a video with another seed company in Virginia. They're pretty small. And again, that was like because they focus on like stuff in the Southeast. And so it does better in the Southeast, the varieties and the cultivars and stuff that they were growing. So yeah, I mean, how are you going to distribute it? You're going to get packages. You need to have like stands that go into stores, and do they buy it from you ahead of time? Like, what does that cost up front? You have to design packaging. there's a lot of things that go into selling seeds for sure. I would definitely reach out to someone that does it. Or another option is if you're really interested in growing and developing strains, you can sell your seeds to a seed company and not have to do all that work. You can just produce the seeds. Of course, you probably won't make as much money. I'm not really sure. Maybe you'll be okay. You could get in touch with one of those companies and send them some stuff, and it might take a year or two till you get things underway and they accept what you're growing. But I don't know. There's possibilities there if you're interested in developing seeds and stuff. Oh, nice. There you go. Yes, Southern Exposure. Thanks, Rambler. Yeah, I can't never remember the name of things like that. Um, yeah, it's that was a really cool experience going there, and they're a really interesting place because they're actually an intentional community as well. So that was a crazy day. I went to visit Pam Dowling at her place, and then went over to Southern Exposure. That was a crazy day for me. Um, yeah, but they have a lot of great seeds there too. Oh, I have no idea. That's not my wheelhouse, so I can't really give you experience there. But I would probably make sure that you're really comfortable with growing and harvesting seeds and that they're successful and that they're growing true and that you're getting good germination and all that stuff. I think those sort of endeavors take a lot longer. And then the other thing you have to worry about is like cross-contamination when you're growing seeds because, you have to separate things pretty far. There's a bunch of like technique and stuff I just don't know about that you want to think about because, if you're selling a seed to someone and you say, hey, this is this like heirloom purple carrot and they get it and it comes out a different color or a different size or whatever, then you said, like, you really want to be careful about that stuff. So I just don't have the experience with it. But hey, I mean, anything around, I say this plenty of times, like if you want to be in the farming space and help with this movement of small scale farming, you don't have to be the one growing the food. There's other things in there that you can help with. If it's starting seeds, if it's more nurseries, I think there's a demand for nurseries that do starts for people. I know around here, a lot of people use Banner, which is out, I think, in Western North Carolina or East Tennessee. And I never use them, but I know a lot of people that do. Creating starts for people, making compost, helping people with marketing, web design. Yeah, there's so many things around the business that could help these farmers, and you don't have to be the one farming. You could even, go and volunteer somewhere. You could, work somewhere part-time. You could sell at a farm. You could, sell at a farmer's market for somebody. There's a lot of ways to like help out in the farming community. You could try to convince your friends to buy from another farm. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do if you just want to get involved. Sorry, I'm a little off track here. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's most people that are not into farming. That is not their thing. So. And to your point, Drops, that I think that's a big part of farming is that the farmers who get into it really love growing and harvesting and tending the land, but like the marketing and sales and business side of it is not their thing. And so they just wind up not having a very profitable business. The farmers that are really successful are the ones that have at least a little bit of business mindset in terms of sales and marketing, and then they can crush it. And then they have the food to back it up. So all right, what other questions do you guys have? It feels like so long ago I went to go visit Southern Exposure. That's crazy. Probably was. Well, I guess I will thank everyone for coming today. I know for the people that did show up, I know most people are out having fun today. But I appreciate everybody. The next module is the last module, which is module 19. So that's going to be about washing, harvesting, packaging, and selling. And it's a pretty lengthy module, and it follows up well to the wash pack station. So you can see sort of everything in operation. Unfortunately, because my season's over, I had to sort of piece together a lot of the video clips and stuff, but it seems to work. You guys will get the point. Hey, Carrie. And then that'll be the last module, and I'll have my last Q&A on next Monday, and that'll wrap it up. So pretty crazy. My opinion of hydroponics, is that what you're asking about? So yeah, I always get asked about hydroponics. I personally don't have any interest in growing hydroponically. Not to say that it doesn't have a place in the world and doesn't have importance. But for me, I have access to soil and sunshine, so I'm going to use that. So that's sort of my approach to it. I like the food grown in soil better than in hydroponics. Again, this is just personal preference. Are there places in the world where hydroponics is important? Yes. There are places where high density places where it's really hard to get local food. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with technology in terms of lighting and solar and nutrients and stuff like that. But I think when we're trying to create living soil, which is kind of the avenue that I like to take, you can't really do that in the same way with hydroponics. It's just a different kind of vegetable that you're growing. So that's just my personal preference. I know there's a lot of cool stuff, especially with aquaponics too, and there's a lot of sustainable things that can happen with that as well. Just not my wheelhouse, not personally interested, so I don't really get into it. But again, there's a time and place for everything, but I'd rather use the soil and the sunshine. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped growing microgreens, is because I was growing them under lights, and it was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I want to use the sun as much as possible. So you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. Thanks for tuning in, checking them out. You're very welcome. Yeah, so I don't remember when I talked about this in so many videos, but there's nothing wrong with farmsteading, which is what I call it, where you have a farm, you sell some of your produce, you see how it goes, you take that money, you reinvest it, you kind of do it on the side, and then if it makes sense financially and you like doing it and you have the sales and you want to, then you can expand it. But there's no problem with setting up a roadside stand, or going to a farmer's market with a few things, or selling to friends and family, that kind of stuff. So I grow all winter here. I just turn my farm off for the summer. So I live in North Carolina, so I grow in the wintertime just in caterpillar tunnels. So it depends on where you live. Again, that takes a huge investment if you're looking to do solar and heating and lights and all that stuff. Geo greenhouses? I don't know exactly what that means, but all right, I think we'll wrap it up. Again, I appreciate you guys coming by and appreciate all the support for the course. Go to Paywall Co. Check out what they have. Let them know. Thanks. And check out the module on Thursday, which will be the last module, and then we'll see you on Friday for the final Q&A. Thanks. Have a happy 4th of July, everyone who's in the United States. Hopefully you're celebrating, hanging out, having fun. We'll see you guys soon.